Satnam, hello, yogis and yoginis, welcome back. Hello, Willie, Satnam, how are you doing? Good to see you. We are back. We are back after the holidays into regular streaming mode. We are back into Sangat consciousness. I hope you're doing well. Please let me know how are things going after the holidays, if you had any holidays. We have an open day, a free day today. We don't have anything planned for today. I thought maybe we could explore some phrases from maybe Kabir. Maybe we could explore something today, or maybe we could just meditate. Sat Kriya, Saddam, hello, nice to see you. Do we know each other? I wonder. With such a name, Sat Kriya, I wonder if we have met in the Kundalini yoga world before. Maybe we have. How are you doing? Do you practice Satkriya a lot? Satkriya is an actual practice from Kundalini Yoga, where we are sitting on the heels and then lifting the arms and chanting Satnam with the movement of the navel. That's a very interesting practice by itself. But it's interesting. In Kundalini Yoga, we call Kriyas to something that is not exactly the same in other yogas. Sometimes they may call Kriya something else, so it's good to make the differentiation. But yeah, good to see you. Please, everyone, this is an open space today. We don't have anything planned for today. If there is something that you would like to explore, let me know and we can talk about it together. But yeah, it's an open day. So we have been going on with the course on the mind. Is going really well. We are approaching the end of it. Approaching the end means maybe there's 2 or 3 more parts, I guess, but I'm never really know exactly how much are we gonna introduce, because things evolve as I am covering them. But yeah, it's going really well. Now we reach the point where we explain the manas, buddhi, ahankar, chitta, and yes, we are. That was one of the key points that was most difficult to understand, the whole involvement of the mind. So, Satkriya, we know each other for a long time. All right, maybe we know each other forever, right? Are you using like, this is metaphorical speaking, right? I mean metaphorical, not metaphorical, but I don't know how to say it. Like in abstract terms, in cosmic terms, let's say we know each other forever, right? Sat Kriya, the Kriya of the truth. Very good. So I was wondering what we would talk about today, or what would we do, what practice would we do. Yesterday I felt like today we would be meditating quite a bit, and this morning I felt like maybe we could read some Kabir, but I'm not sure what could we read from Kabir. So let me see. Maybe I have a text here which I prepared, and maybe it would be nice to read it. Maybe we can read Kabir talking about the mind, and maybe even buddhi. That could be nice. Almost 18 years. Oh, so we do know then. I cannot see your picture very well. I only see a very small in the icon. But then good to see you. Even though I'm not sure who you are, but maybe you can refresh my memory. Maybe 18 years. That's probably maybe some festival. Maybe. So how about we can read that text and then maybe we can meditate or something. Let's see if I can open it here in the screen. Okay, that's. I need to check how to do that. Yes, I want to do that text. Like this. Oh, it works. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm still figuring out how streaming works. You can see that I'm still technical issues. Yeah, but it's working today. Today is working. I got it. So let me remove this. Let's make this like that, and maybe like this. Yeah, that works better. So I selected a few texts when I was preparing the topic about the mind, You may see that this is page 183. And this is, I have a little text of 300 pages that I prepared compiling resources on the mind. So this is good to give you a perspective of how much work I put into preparing this course that we are doing right now. I researched anywhere I could find the word manas, buddhi, ahankar, chitta in texts from Yoga Sutras and Bhagavad Gita, looking in Sanskrit dictionaries, Gurmukhi dictionaries, looking at the Sri Guru Granth Sahib and talks from Yogi Bhajan, Shivananda, and Vivekananda, other teachers. So you can imagine, just by what I said, the compilation is huge, and trying to understand the different aspects of consciousness and mind. And if I did all this, is because I didn't know. I was very confused. Now I feel like I'm getting the hang of it, but there's still, the mind is so complex. I believe I even read once somewhere that how can the mind understand itself? It's just an impossibility, right? Mind is something, for something to be understood by something else, that something else has to be able to embrace it, right? How can the mind embrace itself? It should be bigger than itself, and then that's an impossibility. So in some ways, I believe that mind cannot fully, truly understand itself ever, in some ways, yeah? It's like the most incredible instrument in the universe, right? Like the most evolved, complex thing there is. And so, yeah, we use diagrams, we use drawings. I draw a lot, and I do many of these diagrams to try to explore it in some way. But today's video is not going to go into the Minds course, by the way. Today is more informal, and as I said, feel free to suggest any other topic. Do ask any question. I am here for you and for us to be together, to create Sangat. And so I'm available for anything, chanting mantras, meditating, breathing, pranayams, whatever. And but yeah, let's read this Kabir on Buddhi. So I wrote this, Kabir speaks of Buddhi as something that is obtained. How about we try to read it in Gurmukhi? My pronunciation in Gurmukhi is not really good, but I can make an effort, and if it's not perfect, I hope the Gurus forgive us, yeah, for the errors in pronunciation. Gori Kabirji, Avarmui, Kya Sokkarije, Tu Kije, Juapana Jije, Menamaru Maribo Sansara, Ab mohe milyo hai jiyavan hara raha. Eya dehi paramala mahakanda, tasukha bisara paramananda, paramananda. Kuata ek pancha panihari, tutte laj bhare matahari. Kahu kabir ek buddhi bichare, na ah koata na panihare. Kahu kabir ek buddhi bichare, na ukutta na panihare. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I like to read it in the original because of what we were talking during the mantra course. If some of you may have read that and remember how when the tongue touches the upper palate, pronouncing the words the same way they were pronounced originally in Sanskrit or Gurmukhi, then there is a magical thing that happens in the brain, something that we call the nat yoga or nat science of Shabad Guru, the quantum technology of Shabad Guru. Yeah, it's sometimes used different words. Basically, there is some number of meridians in the upper palate, and when the tongue touches them, it stimulates the brain in a very particular way. So I have some videos on this if anybody is interested, but that's why I'm reading it first in Gurmukhi to create that effect. But let's see what it says. Why do you cry and mourn when another person dies? Do so only if you yourself are to live. I shall not die as the rest of the world dies. For now, I have met the life-giving Lord. Well, the word Lord is kind of like an added translation because in the original Gurmukhi, I don't think any of these words means Lord, like in the male version of God, particularly. But let's say Lord or the Creator or God or whatever term we want to use. People anoint their bodies with fragrant oils, and in that pleasure they forget the supreme bliss. There is one well and 5 water carriers. Even though the rope is broken, the fools continue trying to draw water. Says Kabir that through contemplation I have obtained this one understanding. There is no well and no water carrier. So it's very interesting how you may often find like very serious yogis talking about anything, and then when they get realized or when they get enlightened, suddenly they become very, very poetic, yeah? And some other teachers are just poetic all around, yeah? Kabir is always poetic. But there is a lot Kabir is actually quite explicit in his yogic approach to his poems. Sorry, let me just lower the brightness a little bit. I feel I'm too white. There, a little bit better. So how about we try to reflect upon what he's saying. 1 second. Let me just see if I have. 1 second. I think I want to check. 1 second. So I'm trying to check this reference for the 5 water carriers that Kabir is doing. And it's very interesting. This is something that we often find in the teachings of this in Sikh Dharma. And it's referring to the 5 thieves, sometimes called 5 thieves, 5 evils. Okay, here we go. Okay, I thought I had I don't know what I got. I'm going to show something on the screen, but I didn't write this particularly. This is something that I got. I think it's from the website Sikh Dharma. The 5 water carriers, yeah? So as in the 5 master mind games to cross through in our mind. Sorry. Okay, let's finish this. Okay. So they are blocking the ascension from the first to the second chakra, the second to the third. And sometimes they are called Panch Chor or Panch Jana, Panch Dut. So this is like 5 companions, 5 evils, 5 thills, 5 passions, or simply the mind's inner garbage. Lust, anger, greed, attachment, and pride. And here we have Kabir talking about the 5 bodily senses, which get trapped in these 5 water carriers. So I'm not sure whether, when Kabir is talking here about the 5 water carriers, yeah, he's saying, let's repeat. Even though the rope is broken, the fools continue trying to draw water. There is one well and 5 water carriers. Now, these 5 water carriers is probably, he's referring to 2 things. One is the 5 senses, and trying to draw water from the 5 senses means like, water is our nourishment, yeah? So it's trying to nourish ourselves through the senses, which is what we do mostly in our life. We are going out through the senses. And in fact, this is one of the main points that Patanjali makes when he talks about the path to samadhi. Pratyahara, dharanadina samadhi. So pratyahara is this drawing the senses inwards, right? So why do we draw the senses inwards? Because we're not going to find nourishment out there through these five senses, trying to draw out of some particular well outside. No, the well is inside, right? And when we are going outside through the five senses, we get lost and we lose energy. So that's why losing energy, this is why it's often called the five thieves as well. They steal our energy. But it's not just, when we talk about the five thieves, it's not just the five senses. There are five specific evils. Yeah? Sometimes called five evils. And they are called Kam, Krot, Lop, Moh, and Ahankar. And they are these five that I just mentioned. That is, Kam would be the let me just put it here very quickly. I don't know, maybe I did this in another video already. I may have already explored this in another video, but let's just do it like this. Gonna do a little drawing, yeah. So again, we have our yogi and yogini from the front. And we have our 7 chakras. I don't have the perfect colors for that, but I will use this. And I have a purple here. So the five thieves are 5 mind games, 5 traps that catch us, and then we get lost in our path of spiritual ascension, let's say. And this path is going from one chakra to the next, and the thieves are, let's say, in the middle of these chakras. This understanding of the 5 thieves is something that I got from Ardaas Singh, and study it through the numbers helps a lot. But it's like this, and then one big jump to the last one. And so here we find the first one, Kam. This is called lust. Kam, or desire, yeah? Which is, by the way, one of the main traps that we can find if we read Buddhist texts. We're going to find that they talk a lot about there's suffering, and suffering is intimately linked to desire. We live in a state of ignorance trapped in these 3 things. In fact, the whole objective, we could say, in the Buddhist practices would be to reach nirvana. Nirvana being this freedom from this... nirvana means no air, no wind. Yeah, vana is, the root is like va, similar to air, kind of like vayus, like the word vayus, which are winds in the body. So without air, and it's making a reference to not having these airs of suffering and desire, yeah, and ignorance, which in Indian terms, because they are so connected, yeah, the Hinduistic and Buddhistic traditions. So from Hinduism comes this concept of avidya, of ignorance. And where does avidya come from? How do we get lost into our ignorance? But into Buddhism, it would be like reaching nirvana would be to get rid of that avidya and the suffering and the desire. Now, desire would be linked to this lust. And so Kam is the first of these 5 traps, 5 thieves. Yeah, and they steal our energy, our prana, our physical prana that we have available for the awareness and consciousness. And rather than that, it goes through the 5 senses. It grabs our mind, and we go into these 5 ways. Yeah. So that's last. Kam, then is Krot. I believe it's written like this. I'm doing it from memory because I wasn't expecting to talk about this. So if there is some misspelling, I apologize for that. I'm sure everybody, don't take anything I say, don't take it 100% always for granted. Just check your sources always, yeah? So Krot is anger or fury, rage, yeah? So this anger, let me see, 1 second. I'm checking if it's translated and if I have a copy of how it's properly written exactly. I don't have it here. No, but it's okay. We will carry on like this. Okay, so I mean, lust and desire, we can probably identify how it's linked to the passage to the second chakra, yeah? Second chakra linked to the sexual energy. It's common to see how it's connected in that way. Now coming to the third chakra, which is the fire, we can see how Krot can be like anger, how can be a challenge in this transition. Kam Krot Lob. Lob or Lob? I'm not sure. I think it may have an H afterwards. And this is greed. So the transition to the fourth chakra, the thing is the fourth chakra is very associated to something that comes out of your heart, and out of your heart would be the desire to share something, to give something out, not just to be receiving, taking things for yourself, but actually doing things for others. So in this, you want to give out, share, do seva, and the opposite of that is wanting to take away and greed, to want more. So that greed is the obstacle to get into this higher state. So what this is describing is like the lowest manifestations of the transition to these chakras. Yeah. So the fourth chakra in the worst way, let's say. So this is not letting us go higher. And as you are cleaning this aspect, this thief, then you can raise the consciousness to the second chakra, and the first chakra is purified, and then you can receive the virtues of the first chakra, meaning stability and strength and stillness and all those beautiful things. Same with the second chakra. As you purify that last, and we are coming and purifying the Krot, then we can go into the third and receive all the beautiful things from the second chakra, which is not just sexual passion, but it's actual passion, being passionate and being creative, yeah, and being feeling nourished and healthy emotions and all that. So as we are moving up, we are clearing up the chakras and we are obtaining their blessings, let's say. So greed is the thing that is an obstacle to receive the blessings from the third into the fourth chakra. And as we go higher, then we go into the fifth chakra, Kam Krot Lob Moh. So this moh is referring to, well, let's say you desire something, right? And if you don't get it, you're gonna get angry, right? And then, but if you get it, you're gonna want more. And no matter what you get, you're gonna get more. And the more you get, now you don't wanna let go of it. So you get really attached to it. So moh is linked to attachment. Make sense? Yeah. So if in the fourth chakra, the willingness is to give out, in the transition into it, the obstacle is greed. But now that you have it, it's like you don't want to let go of it. So you're grabbing it, and you're attached to this. Yeah. And finally, the last of the five thieves is a hankar. Now it's worth talking about ahankar is pride. Now it's worth talking about this because just in the last video I was doing on the mind, I was talking about ahankar as this function of the mind, which is the I amness, which is often linked to the ego, yeah, because it's what I want and what I desire, what I like and what I dislike. So it's good to explore that ahankar, this is a term that is often used also in this other way when we are talking about the five thieves. So ahankar would be the pride. And this is like the very last obstacle, because this is when we are like, look, it's in the head, right? It's up here. So it's like we are lifting the head and feeling superior, feeling above somebody else. And it's the last one because you could even be working on your lust and your anger, and then, you can be proud that you are not angry anymore, right? You can be proud that you are sharing with others. You can be proud to be humble. You can be proud to be anything else, right? Which is kind of like paradoxical. But yeah, that ahankar is the obstacle to get to the top. So these are the 5 thieves. These are the 5 water carriers. So let's read what Kabir was saying before. Here. So why do you cry and mourn when another person dies? Do so only if you yourself are to live. I shall not die as the rest of the world dies, for now I have met the life-giving Lord. So there is one aspect, which is, when somebody has reached self-realization, when somebody has been freed from the cycle of birth and rebirth. That's samsara, by the way. That's what's called samsara. And look, that's the word actually that he uses. Menu, maru, maribo, samsara. And actually, I think this translation is not 100% yogic. I mean, this is probably just like a good translation from Gurumukhi, but not a yogic one, let's say. Excuse me. Because samsara has a very specific concept related in yoga, which is this cycle of birth and rebirth. And we come here one life, and then we have to come back, and we have some karma that we have to complete. And because we haven't completed the karma, we have to come back to life. And that's what creates the cycle of birth and rebirth, the cycle of transmigration. Now, when somebody is freed from their karma, somebody who reaches the state that Kabir is defining, when you clean yourself of all karmas, you don't have to reincarnate. Therefore, you're in some way, you are not even alive, you're not dead. It's called Jivan Mukta. Jivan means soul, Mukta is liberated. So when a soul is liberated, a Jivan Mukti is somebody who is dead while alive. So they are not going to be subjected to death in the same way, that others will. So that's what he's saying, Why do you cry? He says, I shall not die, right? He's saying, let me be freed from my karma. I don't know why this phrase is appearing there. Oops. Maybe because this is not complete. Oh, there we go. I think that's better. So, people anoint their bodies with fragrant oils. Thank you, Lalita, Satnam. Thanks for subscribing. Hello, Satnamji. Gabriela, hello. So, people anoint their bodies with fragrant oils, and in that pleasure they forget the supreme bliss. There is one well and 5 water carriers. Even though the rope is broken, the fools continue trying to draw water. So look at that. There is one well, 5 water carriers. 5 water carriers. So this is what he's talking about, these 5 evils. These 5 evils, or 5 thieves. But I think he's also referring to the 5 senses. And it's probably through the 5 senses that we go out into the world. And we could associate it. Lust would be coming into the water element. So that would be linked to the taste. And anger would be linked to the fire element and air. So this is kind of connected in that way. And he's saying, there is one well, 5 water carriers, and the rope is broken, the rope to take out water. But the fools continue trying to draw water from it. Says Kabir, that through contemplation I have obtained this one understanding, that there is no well and there is no water carrier. So it's like, don't go outside and don't lose the energy through these 5 senses going out. And when you go out, you get lost into the world, and then you are into Kam, Krot, Lob, Moha, Hankar, these 5 evils, and you get lost in there. And very interesting. But look, this is the place where he uses the word buddhi. This one understanding. Actually, is more than understanding. Buddhi is more like awakening, yeah? The awakened one. So this is my awakening. This is what I have received. I have obtained through contemplation. I obtained this buddhi, yeah? So he's saying that buddhi kind of descends upon us, which makes sense because remember this drawing that I did the other day? No, this drawing, yeah? So we have here the buddhi on the top. And buddhi is like something that is descending upon us. And here, this is something that we are going into the outside to look for something. Chitta is our memory bank and other things, but it's like going into the inside. Ahankara is the little voice behind us, like the little devil in the shoulder, if you wish. So that's right here, and buddhi is up top. So buddhi is kind of, this is descending upon me. And so interesting that sometimes we can find this in the teachings. Like, I think even, like Muslims say, may peace descend upon you. So it's like peace is descending upon us. Buddhi descends upon us. Compassion descends upon us. Grace comes upon us. All these higher virtues, they are received from above. They are a grace. They are something that flows through the channel, this higher channel, right, and comes into us. If we are graced with it, it's different from other virtues which we can develop. We can bring ourselves. Like humility is something that we have to bring ourselves. Like our loyalty, our devotion, that's something that we can bring ourselves. But wisdom, peace, compassion, grace, mercy, these are things that we receive from above. And we have to be open to receive those things. So those are qualities that are high qualities and we can call upon them. So there's an interesting differentiation between those things. Let's read another thing from Kabir since we are reading him today. This is Kabir on the mind. Ekonkara Satguru Prasada Sukha Managata Dukkha Age Ave So Sukha Hamahuna Mangya Bhave Bhikhya Ajaha Sudatu Sukha Asam Kesa Hoi He Raja Rama Nivasa Raha Es Sukha Te Siva Braham Dharana So Sukha Hamahu Sach Karajana Sanakadika Narada Muna Sekha Tin Bin Tan Mahimana Nahi Pika Es Manako Koi Kojaho Bayem Tana Chutta Manakaha Samayam Guru Parasad Jeddu Namana Bhagat Ke Prem En Hi He Janan Es Man Ko Nahi Avana Jana Jiska Bharam Gaya Tin Sacha Pachana Es Man Kurupa Narekya Kayam Hukama Hoya Hukama Buje Samayam Es Man Ka Kwe Jana Beum Eh Mana Lin Be Sukadum Jiu Ek Ar Sagal Sarira Es Man Kurav Rahe Kabira Jiu Ek Ar Sagal Sarira Es Man Kurav Rahe Kabira. Waheguru, my pronunciation is really not good. I'm trying to read this thing, but sometimes they use strange symbols in the transliterations. And it would be more appropriate to read the original, but I'm not very quick. I'm not very good at reading Gurumukhi. So I make many mistakes. Waheguru. Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, there's one God, and that's truth is its identity by the will of the Guru, like a gift from the Guru, by the grace of the Guru. Suk Mangat Duk Age Ave. People beg for pleasure, but pain comes instead. Well, again, we have one of these translations that is quite it's interesting, but also misses some things. Look, this Mangat, look, here we have man, like manas, like the mind, yeah? And we have the polarity of Suk and Duk. Duk is the pain or suffering, and Suk is like peace, or being satisfied and peaceful. So Suk Mangat Duk Ave Ave. So one begs for that. One begs for this peace, or here it's called like pleasure, but it's also kind of like more like peace and contentment more than pleasure. Because pleasure, we usually attribute this word to temporal pleasure. And actually, suk is more like peace, and that could be more long-lasting. And we beg for it. Interesting that the word for begging is associated to the mind, but we actually find suffering. Duk age ave. So sukhamau namang mangya pave. Again, man. Yeah, there is again this man root here, linked to the mind. So I would rather not beg for that pleasure, for that peace, let's say. Bikya aja surat suks asa. People are involved in corruption, but still they hope for pleasure. But surat, I think surat is linked to consciousness. So I wonder how is this. I don't understand every word. I understand very, very few words actually. So I'm not sure what's the surat in this. Are involved in corruption, but they hope for pleasure. Maybe they put suk in their surat, so they try to, in their consciousness, they try to put their consciousness aligned to the peace, maybe. How will they find their home in the sovereign Lord King? Pause. Even Shiva and Brahma are afraid of this pleasure. But I have judged that pleasure to be true. Again, this pleasure is referring to this peace, not temporal pleasure, yeah? Even sages like Nanak and Narad and the thousand-headed serpent did not see the mind within the body. Anyone can search for this mind, O siblings of destiny. When it escapes from the body, where does the mind go? By Guru's grace, Jaidev and Namdev come to know this through loving devotional worship of the Lord. This mind does not come or go. One whose doubt is dispelled knows the truth. Such being the truth, like Sat or Sach is the same. Yeah. This mind has no form or outline. Rup, so yeah, rup, no form. It's interesting, because the mind wants to give form to everything. The mind puts everything into little boxes. Yeah, it's always giving shape, giving form to things. By God's command it was created, understanding God's command it will be absorbed into Him again. Does anyone know the secret of this mind? This mind shall merge into the Creator, the giver of peace and pleasure. There is one soul, and it pervades all bodies. Ji being the soul, yeah, Jio. Ek ar sagal sarira. So it pervades all the bodies, and Kabir dwells upon this mind. Upon the mind that is going to merge, yeah? The purified mind that is aligned with this one soul. Yeah? It's an enlightened mind. All right. Okay, so we read a little bit of Kabir. Today, we may read some other texts like this. Kabir is very profound. You have to stop a little bit and read it slowly, but he's very profound when you read. He's sometimes very explicit about what to do, how to conquer the 5 evils, how to find this mind that is aligned with the soul. And he describes particular yogic practices as well, even though he always uses this poetic form. But yeah, Sadam, how is everyone doing? Do you enjoy reading Kabir? Do you ever read Kabir or any of the gurus or any of the Shabbats from the saints? If so, which is your favorite? Do you have one that you can share here? Write it in the chat if you have something. So today I was reflecting upon this, how this. I was talking on the other day about buddhi being two aspects. And I wanted to read this Kabir because it talks a little bit about buddhi, how buddhi descends. Now, there is these two aspects. One is the intellectual, analytical aspect to the mind. This is the, in our Western understanding, would be equivalent to the left hemisphere, logical and analytical and mathematical in some way, like this works in this way, and putting things into boxes, yeah? And that analytical, intellectual understanding, that often is translated intellect as buddhi, but there is the other aspect, discernment and wisdom and making choices. That's so different. It's just as different as saying information and wisdom. It's as different as that. Satnam, GIY, hello, welcome to the stream. How are you? I hope you're well. To say that intellect and discernment is the same is really, really, they're far away things. Look, information and wisdom. You can grab as much information as you want. You can accumulate as much as you want. You can collect it and, grab volumes and volumes and volumes of information. Traditionally would be you could fill your library with books. Nowadays, all the information of the world is available at your fingertips with one click away. We are really, really close to that. And yet, does that make us any wiser? And if it doesn't necessarily, what is wisdom? Let's open the question. Maybe somebody in the chat will want to say, what is wisdom for you? How do you find wisdom? What is your reflections upon wisdom? How do you differentiate wisdom from knowledge? And wisdom from, accumulation of information. Because if wisdom was just somebody who knows a lot, then we would say that Google is very wise, right? But is it wise? And even ChatGPT, right? I'm thinking now, artificial intelligence now. ChatGPT has all accumulated knowledge of everything that was written by humans, and it has created a model of human understanding. And I would say that model includes both wisdom and ignorance, because humans are wise and ignorant. So everything that we have written, both ignorant and wise, has been read and has been modeled. But does that make ChatGPT wise? No, I would say it makes both. And in fact, you can hear sometimes it makes mistakes. And that's why they are working on alignment and they are working on giving it feedback, to try to correct itself and give the right answer. But what is the difference? So I'm asking, if you are here, you're present, you're online, and you have a minute and you want to write in the chat, what is wisdom for you? What do you understand wisdom? How is that different from accumulating understanding? I want to understand better buddhi. I want to reflect more upon buddhi. And I feel that a big part of this is understanding discernment. And I think discernment plays a key role here, because there is no discernment when you click one button and you receive 12 billion pages talking about any topic that you're asking about. There is no discernment there. There is just an accumulation of information. So let's say GIY, to know how and when to apply the wisdom, using discernment gained through self-knowledge and life experience, with choice to polarize negative or positive. This is important. Good. I will ask you to expand a little bit on the last bit. With choice to polarize negative or positive. You mean to decide whether something is positive or negative? Is that it? Or is there something else? And I will comment on the first part while you elaborate on the second part. How and when to apply the wisdom? What would be to apply the wisdom? And I understand that you are saying this is using discernment, getting through self-knowledge and life experience. Okay, great. So I think life experience, there is no doubt about life experience, because I have two little daughters, right? And sometimes they say something really wise. But I don't think they know that what they said is really, really wise. This is something they just take for granted. And they will say it amidst other things which are not so wise. And that's because they are children and they are just learning, they are just beginning, their life experience is still very short, right? So life experience is certainly a necessary ingredient, is not a guarantee. So not all people are wise. I think we all know this, right? There is some very grumpy grandfathers and grandmothers who are just not wise, let's say. However, if anybody has reached wisdom, they must have gone through some experience. So it is probably easier to go finding wisdom in a house filled with older people. And, if in the tribes, traditionally, there would be the elders, right? It would be easier to find wisdom amongst the elders than finding wisdom amongst the youngsters. And it's interesting, in some cultures, the young kid would be considered a kid until they would go through some rite of passage, and then eventually they are adults. And when they are adults, they would be allowed into the main tent where the big decisions would be made, right? And then they would express their voice. And sometimes their voice would be the voice that everybody would agree to, and they would make decisions based upon that. And, they could be as young as maybe 16, but if they are considered adults and they have they have this right to voice their opinions, and maybe that's the wise opinion, right? But often the elders would be maybe silent, because, the one who knows doesn't speak and the one who speaks doesn't know often. But when they would speak, everybody would listen, because often there is wisdom in the elders, right? So life experience is certainly a necessary ingredient for that. I would agree to that. Sometimes the most wise thing is to say nothing. It would cause more negative than positive polarization beyond the present moment. Oh, I see. So you're referring exactly to that. That's why the wise do not speak when the ignorant do, right? So yes, excellent. So we are linked to that, yeah? And positive and negative polarization. Satnam Sohail, hello, welcome. Welcome here. So that would be the negative and positive polarization beyond the present moment. So GIY, you are also referring to this aspect that nothing is right or wrong. Thinking makes it so, right? And there is, I believe it's also by Kabir, when he's saying, let me just check very quickly. Rumi, that's Rumi, yeah, where he says, let me just get the full. I want the full phrase from him. I cannot put it on the screen, but I'm gonna read it. Yeah. The poem is called "A Great Wagon." Sorry. It says, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there." These are the two most famous sentences from him, from Rumi, from this poem, that we don't always have to be thinking in terms of right and wrong. There is something beyond that. I think that beyond that's the Satnam. By the way, I just was seeing Sohail's message, Satnam, and I was thinking that truth, right? Truth is beyond right or wrong. That whatever happens, and very often when we are judging something that happened and we say that was right or that was wrong, we are very often not seeing the whole of the truth, the whole perspective, the whole wide perspective of everything. So we are missing something. And we began today by reading a Kabir poem, one poem from Kabir, and now we're going to read this poem from Rumi But the whole of it, not just the first two lines, which are very famous, but all of it. Let's read it. I will read it because I cannot put it on the screen. I'm sorry. Again, it's called The Great Wagon. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Whoa. Isn't it incredible? I think it's amazing. It's one of these poems that they grabbed you and you could find so much meaning behind that. So let's go slowly today. Let's make it a poetic day, a day of poetry, right? I wasn't expecting this, but here it is. So out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. So he's telling us, look, just don't get so caught up in what is right and what is wrong. Like GIY is saying, beyond the polarization of negative and positive and right and wrong, there is something else, something neutral, something truth, some Satnam. There is beyond that. And he says, when the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Can I put the poem on the screen? I want to do this. Hold on a second, please. I'm gonna make an effort to put it on the screen. It's too beautiful to me just reading it. I know some of you are with the phone and you cannot read it from the screen, but some of you will have a computer and maybe you can. I want you to be able to do this. I'm gonna put it like this. It's gonna look a bit bad, but let me just try anyway. Maybe I'll put it like this. I'm gonna put this. Oh, I lost it for a second. One moment. No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to give you a wooden background for the words. And hold on, can I make this bigger? This doesn't fit. Okay, 1 second. Be patient. There we go. Well, there should be no doubt, but I myself often confuse Rumi and I put another line. And Kabir. So here it is, Rumi. Okay, so out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Look, GIY was saying already, sometimes the most wise thing is to say nothing, isn't it? Weren't we just saying the elders in the tribe, they would be in the tent, everybody's trying to make a decision, and they would be silent. And they would not speak. And they would speak. Sometimes I think about my uncle. My uncle is called Pedro. And he doesn't speak so much. Sometimes when we are in a family, we are together and many people are speaking over the table and he stays silent quite a lot. But he has this little tinkling in the eye when he knows something. And I can tell, right? So when you are in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. So it's so full of words. So many people have written things and there's so much Even now with social media, everybody feels like, oh, let's write anything that passes through my mind, even all the garbage that comes through my mind. And we can see there's a lot of garbage in the comment section in many videos, right? Fortunately, it hasn't come across my videos yet, but someday it will come. And so when you are in that field beyond right doing and wrong doing, when you are in the neutral state of the truth of Satnam, maybe there is a silence, right? Because the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Whatever is these ideas that pass through the mind, language, even speaking doesn't make any sense. And this is why when you are in that place, the only way you can kind of try to convey what you are receiving is through poetry. And it is already a paradox because look, he's talking about silence. Isn't that a paradox by itself? And you read his words and you can tell he is in that grass. He is in that field of beyond right doing and wrong doing. And yet he's speaking. And he's talking about how the world is too full to talk about. He's not really talking about the world, but he's saying, look, language doesn't make sense. But he's using language because that's the only thing we have. This is like Guru Nanak saying, to even speak about God is like chewing metal. It's like trying to eat metal or something like that, or eat iron, something like that. How can you speak about God? There is no name to God. Yeah, Guru Gobind Singh making the poetry, Jap Sahib, he doesn't have names, he doesn't have properties, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't have desire, and he's saying all the things that he's not there, but he's trying to describe something that is indescribable. And why does he do it? If it's pointless, why do you do it? Because that's the only thing we have to connect to that divine thing. So even though the wisest thing is often to stay silent, sometimes we need to speak about that silence and from that silence. And somehow when you speak from that silence, you are not breaking the silence. Isn't it? That's the ultimate paradox of voice and language. You can hear here Rumi saying language doesn't make any sense, and yet what he means, the sense of what he means, he's conveying it. So there's something mystical and magical and mysterious, and it makes sense, even though language doesn't make any sense. Right? The spiritual path is full of paradoxes. This is one of the most profound ones. Look, he's saying, stay in the silence. Right? When you are laying in that grass, when your soul lies there, you're going to want to be in silence. But then he says, look, if you stay in that silence, that's an opportunity to listen. He says, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Satnam, Max, hello, nice. Yes, it's a beautiful poem, isn't it? Good to see you here. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Secrets and sacred. Secret and sacred, they are two very intertwined words, yeah? And if you want to listen to a secret, wouldn't you hush? You know, when you want to say something special, I'm going to tell you a secret right now, right? You want to whisper. Isn't your whisper like a breeze? I think this is the secret why many mantras, in many meditations, it says, whisper the mantra. It says, do not chant out loud, whisper it. Like Satanama. Because there's something sacred and secret within. And by whispering the sound of the breath, I feel like that's the sound of the Atman, that's the sound of the soul. Your breath, yeah? Your breath is in there. When you're whispering, yeah? That's the breeze. That's the breath. There is this little affirmation sometimes we do in yoga. There is this little mantra. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the soul. I am only the breath of God. Breath of life. Breath of life. Breath of God. breath of life, breath of God. So this breath, the breath is God, is your life. Sorry. When we are breathing, we are alive. So this breeze of the dawn is like the dawn is breathing. And the dawn is the awakening, yeah? The sun is waking up. Look, the sun is associated to awakening, right? Because that's when we wake up. The sun is rising and is the sign of the light. We're talking about enlightenment. But we are not talking about the sun already risen. This is dawn. This is when the sun is going to rise. And that means that is the very edge in between darkness and light. And that's called the twilight zone, the twilight. And in the twilight, you can find secrets. I don't know if it happens to you, but when we are in twilight, let's say if I'm not doing sadhana, which, it's not recommended. Generally, one should be awake during the twilight. But if I am in bed in twilight, my mind enters into this very weird state. And you can access to very, very artistic, creative, new, strange ways to look at things. And it can be awesome. Or you can get lost into the fantasy, yeah? And that's why we recommend during the twilight, which is actually Amrit Vela, we should wake up, and then by the time the twilight comes, you are awake and you are meditating, so that the secrets that the breeze of dawn has to tell you, you can listen to them. And he says, don't go back to sleep. Why is he telling us? Don't go back to sleep, because we just woke up. The breeze at dawn has a secret to tell you, and we are listening. We are listening, which means if we are listening, that we are in silence. And if we are in silence, we are closer to the soul lying down in that grass. So we are closer to the truth, beyond the right and the wrong. And he says, don't go back to sleep. Because in a way, he's telling us, look, when you are seeing the world as something right and something wrong, when you say to somebody, that's wrong what you are doing, or you are asleep. And he says, wake up. Allow the breeze of dawn to tell you secrets and don't go back to sleep. And then he says, you must ask for what you really want. You must ask for what you really want. In this state where you are, where there is no right and there is no wrong, you have a chance to say what you really want. What do you really want? Not the desire from Kam. You remember the 5 thieves I just talked about? The 5 water carriers, yeah? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Hankar, the 5 evils, the 5 thieves. Not Kam, the desire, not that desire. What do you really want deep inside, in the depth? Yeah? When you are in this state of in between, yeah, like Max saying, the junction between the states, when you are in these between states, and this is going to connect to the states of consciousness as well, right? We talked about this conscious, semi-conscious, subconscious. And look, there is one state which is beyond this, Turiya, right? Turiya is beyond all that. And the gateway to beyond is through this in-between states. This twilight, yeah, where the dawn is starting. In that state, if you touch that, if you are touching that point of neutrality, of Satnam, he's saying, what do you want? So when he's saying, ask for what you really want, that's so different from what we normally do when we are praying. But praying should be this. Praying should be a gateway to this twilight. Praying should be like a way to accessing that. Because we are talking, right? It's different from when we are meditating, when we are listening. And he's saying, look, this asking for what you really want should be in that state, in between states. Between waking and dreaming and deep sleep, 6 months. Yes. Yes, in the edge between both, yeah? That's why it can happen when you are waking up just out from a dream. And at that very instant, there is a moment of quite profound, yeah? Between waking and dreaming as well. Dreaming and deep sleep. And that happens in meditation, isn't it? You are closing your eyes, you are in your day-to-day mind, you are operating on the mind, and then you close your eyes, you start to meditate, And then just the very closing of the eyes. Sometimes we say, keep the eyes 1/10 open, looking at the tip of the nose. And that's creating the twilight. That's exactly what it's doing. It's exactly that. You are opening one thin layer of light and you are focusing on the tip of the nose. And that's called nasikagra, yeah? So focusing on the nose. That's stimulating the pituitary, by the way. And that little thin layer of light, it's being like looking into the twilight, creating that twilight, opening that state, which is going to bring us out of this regular state of consciousness of awakening, and it takes us into this meditative state. Now, what happens is that most of the time when we cross the door sill, this crossing, we're going to go into the door sill in a second, but we can already see it right here, right? When we go into that point, we fall asleep because we are not used to entering into this state without falling asleep. So when we are meditating and sometimes we're like, falling, the head is falling all the time. You're like falling asleep all the time. Where is this coming from? Well, it's because we are not used to touching it and staying there. That's why Rumi says, don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. He's repeating it. There is a vastness, says Max. Yes. It's a thin layer of light opening up, and through that twilight, there is a crossing to another gate. I'm thinking about now this book, Play of Consciousness, right? Going through this layer, the blue pearl, right? Going through the blue pearl and finding a new world over there. And in that place, you can pray. And that's the place of prayer. Sometimes we meditate and meditate and meditate and meditate, which is kind of like listening inside, listening to the soul, trying to hear our inner voice, and we don't hear it, right? And then we are there listening. And what it requires is for us to speak. Can you speak? Can you pray? And have a good balance between praying and meditating. My name, Ardaas, means prayer, by the way. So, Ardaas, prayer. Can you ask for what you really want? What you really want from that state, and don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. This is the two worlds. These are the two worlds, yeah? The awake and the asleep. This world and the other world. The 5 khans, the 5 realms, the 5 blue ethers where the gurus are, right? They are right here. They are touching. The two worlds are touching. He's saying, look, if you call upon it, if you really, really want it, and you're ready to listen to the secrets, and you can go into the twilight, the two worlds are touching. And people are going back and forth across this layer. Yeah. Tears are coming, says Max. Tears clean the eyes and let us see better. Yeah. Can we cross that door sill? Can we stay there? Can we meditate upon the twilight and stay awake and don't go back to sleep? And then he gives us a clue. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. The door is round and open. Which is that door? I think there's a number of doors. There's a number of layers. Let me unpack it. Let me say a few layers, but feel free to write in the chat, what is that door for you? One door is your mouth, because he's talking about speaking and about keeping silent. And that's the mouth. And it's through the mouth that we can cross the two worlds. That's when we are chanting mantras in that twilight era moment. That's what is allowing us to cross through the door. So I believe that's part of that's one of the ingredients, the mouth as one of the doors. The door is round and open. I think he may be talking about the 10th gate as well. Fontanella, this the top of the crown, when Shiva meets Shakti, when our Kundalini Shakti meets Shiva, that point of touching, where the personal material world touches the spiritual, universal, impersonal. That's the two worlds touching, yeah? Right here in the crown. And is round and is open, yeah? This place that, so many traditions have something to do with this. Either they shave it, or they leave the long hair, or they cover it with a little hat, or a big hat, or a turban, or whatever. There's something important about this point. This is a meeting point. But I think there is a third cave. The third cave of the heart. That's also a round door, kind of. The heart cave. It's like a door as well. And that's the place where the soul lies. And look, the soul lies down in that grass, and grass is green. Green is the color of the fourth chakra. The soul lies down here in the heart. When you are in the heart, the world is too full to talk about. This is where we breathe. This is where we wake up. Don't go back to sleep. I never thought so much about this one poem. I read it a few times, but mostly we stay with the first two lines, which are beautiful. But look at how much is there, how much secret and sacred is behind. I feel we are in the right place for a meditation. Let's close your eyes if you can. If you're not driving or anything, let's close our eyes. And if you feel very sleepy, leave the eyes 1/10 open and look at the tip of your nose. He says that the breeze has secrets for us. Breeze is breath. Breath is air. I mentioned before that nirvana, the word nirvana, comes from no air, meaning there is no desire, no suffering, no ignorance. When the veil of ignorance lifts, we can meet through our Satnam, we can meet the divine. Let's allow ourselves to go deep within today. Let's leave behind the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, and let's leave behind the forms, like Kabir was telling us. Let's stop drawing water from the well. There is no well outside of us. And let's go inside into the twilight. Let's go into the cave of the heart. And let's breathe. And listen to the secret of the breeze at the dawn of consciousness. Let's just listen to it. And as you listen to the breath, when it comes in, you will notice that it sounds very much like a very, very soft whisper of Sat. Sat. When you're inhaling. And when you exhale, hear in the whisper of the exhale the sound Nam. Going deep into the heart cave. Listen to the whisper of Satnam. there is a vast green field, and our soul is resting there, listening to the whisper of Satnam in your breath. Just lay back within yourself. Imagine you are laying back into that space. It's almost as if the breeze is crossing through you, through the heart, almost from the back to the front of the body, from the front to the back of the body. And actually, you are not breathing. The breath is happening by itself. Could it be that the breath is breathing you? The dawn is breathing you. Feel the breath happening by itself. With every breath growing back and forth, crossing through your heart, from the front to the back, from the back to the front. The breath is happening by itself. Just be silent and listen to it. The sound of it crossing is Satnam. Sat with the inhale, Nam with the exhale. And you are laying on that grass field. If any thought comes, let it pass, carried by the wind. It will go, floating away. There's nothing right, nothing wrong. Even thinking is not right nor wrong. It's just another sound in the wind. Stay with the Satnam. Just lay back in that grass and enjoy the breeze. But don't go back to sleep. It's possible that in this state you can just feel the peacefulness, sukh, from Kabir's poem, just comes down, descends upon you. Effortless. Nothing to do, nothing to think. In some ways, you are not even meditating. You are just listening to the breeze, laying on the grass, the green grass at dawn, listening to the Satnam. It's quite incredible that we are not breathing, that the breath is happening through us. Life comes, and it's almost like a surprise that we don't require any effort for that. Could life be this easy? Could we live life effortlessly, as easy as it is breathing? Can we lay back and allow the grace, the peace, the compassion to descend upon us? Can the love, the devotion flourish within? Effortlessly. In a few moments, we will come out of the state with the eyes closed and we will open our eyes. But when you do that, see if you can try to keep that feeling of breath crossing through effortlessly. So even if the eyes will open and you will start seeing images again, seeing the world outside, don't draw water from that well, because there's something deeper within. And whenever you are ready, slowly as you want, you can allow your eyes to start to open up without losing the sense, the feeling of that which is inside. There is a sense through this practice that life is easy. Sometimes we enjoy complicating things, sometimes we suffer complicating things, but in any case, it is when we go into our minds and our thoughts and our ideas and thinking that something is right or something is wrong. That we start complicating things. If you manage to go into that state, that's self-knowledge. That's knowing yourself. That's a Satnam. Yeah. When you were there, you were there. It was you and the true you, your true self. Hopefully you could feel it. That's the Satnam. Now, between the Satnam and the Creator, God, universal consciousness, divine consciousness, Vaheguru, whatever name you want to give it, between you and that, there is a veil, a thin veil. And that veil is pierced through that breeze that is breathing in you. But sometimes it lifts, sometimes it doesn't. It's not something that you can force it. But if you can just feel the breath coming through, you can feel there's this divine thing flowing through you and breathing you and giving you life. Now, the day that this veil will lift, that's when you will feel God and me and God are one. That's when you will feel that, right? Until then, we can remain in that state. We can remain in that Satnam. This is what Guru Nanak told us. Just breathe Satnam. Just repeat the Satnam, Simran. That's all you need to do. Just stay there. In some way, the instructions are so simple. How are you doing? Those of you who are here right now, listening, or if you are watching the recording, write in the comments. But if you are here right now, just write in the chat. How was it for you? Do you hear the secret the breeze had to tell you? It's very interesting. It's very good exercise to read these poems in a meditative way and reflect upon them. And maybe someday even write your own. Who knows? Because there's a part of us which cannot communicate with regular language. And so poetry helps us open the gateway to that. Max says, thank you. Did you have a beautiful experience? I hope you did. I was thinking right now how I remember something my cousin said. He said that he was actually performing in a school play. He was a child by then. And he dressed up and nobody knew it was him. So in alignment, says DIY, it's great. It's interesting, the alignment, yeah? There was the verticality and there was this horizontal crossing through the heart. And there was this divine alignment happening at the same time. It was quite nice. Interesting. Alignment is the main issue, eh? Keeping the alignment. Max says, I wish that don't go back to sleep would appear in huge letters in my mind as a warning during the day. It may, This is the thing. When you read something like this, then during the day, the memory will come, the remembrance, right? And just like when we are in the day-to-day and a mantra comes to our consciousness, like a japa, and then it's telling us, wait, don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep, yeah. Param Prakash Kaur, easy. Satnam, hello, welcome. Was it easy? Is the easiest thing we can do, right? Is there any more difficult practice? Is there anyone who cannot do this? You don't need to be have a flexible body and deep lungs to chant or anything. This is the easiest thing we can do. So my cousin was showing me this recording of this performance that he did in the school play. He was probably 15 or so, and he said, "Everybody wants to be money." And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "Look, if you look at the notes, the bank notes back then, at least, yeah, I think we were using pesetas, the old coin in Spain back then." He says, in the back of the note there are poets, and I had never noticed that. And that varies. That's very different for every country. Yeah, I think in America there are past presidents, I believe. But at least at that time in Spain, I believe it was poets. Well, that's what he said, and that's what I remember he said. And how interesting that something material, right, like the money, and would be represented with the face of poets. Because when somebody thinks about a career that they want to dedicate their lives with, rarely poetry is something that one thinks is going to be full of abundance, let's say. It's hard to cover our material needs being a poet. You can be a dentist, a plumber, electrician, doctor, lawyer, even a teacher. But being a poet, that's not so easy. And yet, what does it say? That some of the highest expressions of human beings we can find, like Rumi and Kabir and Guru Nanak, they are poets. Well, something in our society needs more alignment, right? When we cannot just dedicate our lives to be poets. Who knows? Maybe someday in the future this will be possible. I pray that it will. It would be nice. I like this idea from Star Trek. Let's talk about Star Trek for a second. It's very utopian. Like, you can produce anything you need, so your basic needs are covered, and you don't need money, so there is no money. So if there is no money and your needs are covered, what do you want to do with your life? And so if that was so, and we didn't have to fight for resources, which is one of the biggest sources of conflict in this world, one of them. Then if we don't have to fight for resources and we can have anything we need, then what do you really, really want? Somehow what Rumi was telling us, what do you really, really, really want? And maybe in our heart of hearts, some of us would just like to be poets or artists. I love drawing. This is something I've discovered with my daughters. We spend a lot of time painting. And that was one of the gifts of the COVID, actually. COVID lockdown, we spent a lot of time doing arts at home. And the outcome of that is all these drawings that you see me doing for the courses, right? I found something very beautiful in me, which is artistic. And poetry is just a different form of art, right? I wonder, do you who are here watching, do you have some way to express your art inside? How do you do it? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it sculpture? Is it poetry? How do you do it? Write in the chat or write in the comments. Because most of the times we cannot earn money from that. I mean, there is ways to be an artist and be commercial from that, to sell your art and make money. But it's not common, it's not easy, it's not for everyone. But we should all find a way during our day-to-day, or at least our week-to-week, to express our artistic creativity. Max is asking, are you planning to publish your drawings? Well, actually, what I'm setting up right now in YouTube membership plans, and YouTube was telling me, look, you can get people to support your work through giving some monthly payment and become members of your channel, and you have to offer something in return. And I was thinking, well, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can offer the drawings from all the thumbnails that you can see in the videos. I've done them digitally, and I will offer them to those who subscribe, like become members to the channel. So anybody who will in the future become members, when I activate it, I think tips are already activated, but when memberships are activated, which I was doing like yesterday I was doing that, then they will be able to download the drawings and print them if you want. And when I was doing this as a student and I was going to the courses with Shiv Charang, and then when I started teaching this myself, I would take these drawings and put them in my walls, put them in my bathroom mirror, so that I would always see them during the day, so that we can remind ourselves what we learned from this. Yeah. So this will be my way of planning. Of publishing. I will not publish them. I'm not going to sell them. I'm just going to put in them so that the members, to offer something to the members, because otherwise I didn't know what to offer. YouTube is telling me, just do some nice icons, emojis and things like that, badges that people can use in the chat. And I'm like, okay, but that's a little bit childish for me. I will do that, but it's a bit childish. But maybe offer these drawings so anyone can print them. But how do every one of you use your creativity and your art? So G for God. I love creating things, solutions. Hoping to make this a way to achieve income. Also play various instruments, let the music and expression flow. Nice. What instruments do you play and what kind of music? We have more artists here in the Sangat. Sohail is a contemporary musician. I believe he makes contemporary music. I'm still remembering this 11 hours concert that you did on the 11th of 11. I don't know if you're still around, Sohail. Tell us what instruments do you play as well. I was a musician myself. I'm still a musician. I don't think you stop being a musician, but I studied music when I was a child, and I played the saxophone with a number of bands, like big bands, like philharmonic bands, like 50 to 100 people, and playing both classical and folk music, contemporary music. And that was incredible. I remember those times. And I was a child. I was like maybe 13, 14 years old, things like that. It was like 8 years that I did that. And I remember it was kind of like meditation in a way, because you are in a big group of maybe 40, 50, 60 people, and you have to follow the director. So the director is guiding you, and then you have to listen to everyone to be in harmony with them at the same time. And you cannot be thinking about anything else, because otherwise you mess up. So it's like a meditative state in which you are in harmony with your Sangat. You have like a spiritual teacher guiding you with they are guiding the orchestra, the director, and you are in the music, in vibration. So to me, I think that was the beginnings of what would become my passion for mantras and for sound. So that was my start. I don't play the saxophone anymore. I tried to do jazz for a while, while I was studying in the university, and then eventually when I came back to yoga through sound, through mantras. So I have a deep appreciation to music. So Max, you have a degree in fine arts, but I stopped painting. Oh, Max, why did you stop? Or do you do some other kind of arts? Do you do maybe a sculpture? How do you express your art, Max? How do you do it? Because I think it's key. It's super important that we have a connection to that part of ourselves. And painting is such a wonderful way to reflect upon what we are feeling as well. Because sometimes feelings and emotions are kind of hidden deep within. At least me as a man particularly, it's harder as men to connect with our feelings inside. So by painting is something, you start using a color and then you don't know why, but you feel drawn to that color and that's being expressed. DIY, mostly some guitar, some piano. I like a refined timing skill, but I love it nonetheless. I think rhythm was my hardest point as well. I'm not that great with timing. I I like piano as well too. I think the best way to compose music, to make music, is with piano or guitar. So if you want to make new music, you definitely need a piano or a guitar. So that's good. So I guess do you play mantras as well with them? What kind of music? Param Prakash says, I paint, I write, and I create a new garden for each season, and I play the guitar. A new garden for each season, that's amazing. That's incredible, yeah? Thinking of the grass where you can lay, yeah? And you play the guitar. Do you play the mantras? Are you from the Kundalini tradition? I guess you are, Param Prakash Kaur. And do you play the mantras with it? I think we should do some collaboration someday. We should do some stream and get some people connected and have maybe some kirtan. It's very difficult with online to get a few people connected and make music, everyone in their own home. I mean, if it was everyone here, we could just play music, but everyone in their own home and connected, I'm not sure how can that be done. I don't even know if it's possible, but it would be lovely. Creativity left you? Oh, come on, Max. Seriously. Cannot be. I'm thinking about this TED Talk from, what was his name? Robinson, was it? Wait, let me just check 1 second. Ed? No. Sir Ken Robinson. Do schools kill creativity? Yeah, he talks about how there is this graph. As we are advancing in education, the more our creativity is killed. How there is ways to measure that. Like give a paperclip to a child and ask, what can you do with it? And they can think of 50 things, 100 things. And you give it to an adult and they can think, well, I can grab paper with it and maybe 2 or 3 things. But yeah, we lose our creativity as we grow older, or we grow older as we lose our creativity, right? This is something my mantra teacher used to say. We don't stop playing when we grow old. We grow old when we stop playing. So I wish that we could all find ways to express the creativity. But it's never too late to come back to it, Max? I mean, so I will say something. When I started to come back to the world of yoga, back in the 2001, 2002, I was convinced that I couldn't draw or paint. And I could very clearly have a memory from my childhood. I will go into it. G had turned my back on my creativity, was working 70 to 80 hours a week until all came to grinding halt, and awakening 6 years ago, so trying to realign and find a new way. Yes. Wahuru. Yeah, so if we don't stop, we are stopped, yeah? Sometimes our soul creates obstacles in our path, forcing us to stop and face that. So, I remember being a child and one day in school doing a drawing. It was so good. I think you were putting it on top of the other page on the window and drawing on top, because some children were doing that. But I didn't. I was just copying it. But she said, no, you cannot draw that well. That couldn't be you. And somehow I was like, ugh. Silly children who believe what the teachers tell them, right? Naive or innocent, right? And then I didn't draw again. And then after I began doing yoga, I was facing my limitations and I decided it's not possible that you have this false belief, limiting belief that you cannot draw. So what can I do? I'm going to break that belief. And I found this lovely little book called Learning to Draw with the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. Beautiful book, fantastic book to break the limitations. And then I discovered that I love painting and drawing. And then so that was a beautiful discovery, that the art was not lost. And having stopped playing the saxophone in that case, coming back to yoga, start chanting mantras and start making music and start painting. And now, I enjoy doing the drawings for the thumbnails. I was drawing the emojis for the the membership, and I was having fun. And I think it's so important for us. So, Max, I hope you find a way to come back, to reconnect with it. I don't think creativity is lost, and it doesn't go away. It's just we don't draw from it. Gioia says, I do have a family and 2 young kids to provide for, but I know the path with creativity is my connection to God. Yeah, that's wonderful. And, being with kids, that's the greatest way to reconnect with creativity, because they are so creative. And so painting with them, drawing with them, doing things with the arts. My main table at home is big table. It's just for arts, so it's always filled with arts. And then story time at night. That's half an hour. Yesterday's story not last night. The other night was 1 hour, over an hour long in bed. I was telling them a story, making it up with, being creative, right? And being with kids just draws our creativity out. It's beautiful. And a blessing for my kids too, yeah. And Paramprakash says, yes, I play the mantras and I belong to the Kundalini tradition. I met you at the Mela meeting in November. Oh, I see. Lovely, Paramprakash. Yes, nice to see you here then. Yeah, I talked to the community in November that we were meeting online, and I was telling them that I had this YouTube channel, so I'm glad some of you are coming here. Yes, Paramprakash, it's good to see you here. Thank you for connecting. Could I share the name of the book? Oh, yes, I actually have it here. Let me show you. It's called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. Oh, let me remove the... 1 second. What is this text? Here. I was doing, while we were talking, I was being creative with the caps of the pens. Drawing on the right side of the brain. And she is incredible. She teaches you how to break those barriers that you think you cannot draw. And look, this page is a good example of before and after, like before reading the book and after reading the book, right? And you see incredible. It's really, 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 really good, and teaches many systems, like how to draw perspectives. But before going into this, like this little tool for drawing appropriate imbalance, she teaches you tools like, for example, painting this upside down. So she would tell you to place it upside down so that you don't see the things. Because the thing is, when we are looking at something, we think we know what it is and we try to draw it from memory. So for example, if I see this and I see the eye of a horse, instead of drawing what I see, the eye of a horse, I will draw my symbol in my head of an eye of a horse. So I will draw the eye as I think it is, like the shape of an almond with a circle and a black circle inside. And that's how most of our drawings end up being like children's drawings, like very, very basic. The elements are there, but then it doesn't look at all like what you are seeing. So putting the drawing upside down is a good tool to don't think about what you are drawing, just draw it as you are seeing it. And it's incredible. And doing exercises to see the world as it is, rather than what you think you are seeing. So don't see the plant. Just see, if I see the plant is green. Well, actually, there's so many colors and so many shapes and leaves. But don't think about leaves. Just draw the lines and draw the colors. And I remember doing these exercises, and there's one of them where you put your hand and then you see the lines in your hand, and you have a piece of paper, and you have to look at your hand, not at the paper, and just follow the lines. And I remember what I would later understand that this was a deep meditative state, because I drew and I drew and I drew and I felt like an hour passed, and eventually I was like, okay, Ardaas, is enough. 1 hour drawing lines. And then I looked at the watch, and it had been less than 10 minutes or something like that, or 15 minutes. Because I had put a timer, but I thought the timer just stopped, but it didn't. So it was just that I felt it had been like 1 hour, and I was in such a state, but like my mind was out of the logical thinking, because I mean, drawing lines, you cannot be thinking about this. There's nothing. There's just lines, right? So just drawing lines. And then I came out. I was going to meet a friend for the cinema, my very good friend Yiping, which I was sharing office with. And we were going to meet in front of the cinema, and it was raining, of course. I mean, I was in Scotland, so it rained quite a lot. Not that it always rains, but it was, raining quite a bit. And I remember I arrived first, and I was in the door of the cinema, and I was looking out, and it was dark, it was at night, and there was some puddles on the street. And in the puddles, I could see reflected the lights from the buildings in front. And suddenly, I saw. And I saw with the eyes of an artist, of a painter. I didn't see the puddle, I didn't see the lights, I didn't see the stones. I saw all the colors, all the shapes, all the brightness, all the different shades. And it's like everything at once, and making a whole figure. I was not putting labels to it. One of these exercises that I gave for meditation, not to label what you are hearing. You may have heard about this in another live stream I had some time ago. Not to label what you are hearing. So the same with the eyes. I didn't put any label. I was just seeing all these colors, seeing all these things. There was some bush, and seeing the bush. The bush was not green. There was purples, there was yellows, there was some dark and green, but there was all these colors there. And it was like, what's happening there? And I was like, am I seeing for the first time in my life? Because I couldn't remember before seeing like that, the world. And it was so weird. How can I have been looking through these eyes all my life, and I never saw it like this? It was a totally new perception of it. So that was bizarre. And that makes me think that when Patanjali talks about pratyahara, about this refinement of the senses and alignment of the senses and going within, it's like seeing with different eyes. It's like hearing with different ears. It's like feeling touch in a different, more sensitive way. Something deeper, no? A more refined connection to the senses somehow. So we could all learn to connect in that way. I did many exercises to refine my senses. Like I would blindfold myself, and I would do everything in the morning blindfolded. Even shaving, which I was doing at that time, shaving blindfolded, even preparing breakfast. And it's a good exercise. I suggest everyone to try that. Get up from the bed, blindfold yourself, and do everything up until you leave to work or whatever. Get up a bit earlier because it's going to take longer, and do everything blindfolded. And you're going to have a refinement of the sensitivity of touch, smell, and taste and everything, something that you haven't found before. I found it a very interesting exercise. I did it for weeks, and or maybe even months. I can't remember now, but it was incredible. So rediscovering our senses, yeah, and there's nothing like art to do that. So poetry. Look at what Rumi did and Kabir, yeah? Just reading a little, I didn't even know where we were going, reading a little bit of Kabir and Rumi today. But look at the beautiful place that it took us. It's been 2 hours. I feel like we need to lay in that grass again, stay there and breathe the Satnam. And it has been a lovely experience today, but I think it's enough for this week. I will post every month the times that I'm going to be streaming. I'll try to do it the whole month beforehand. So if you want to know next week when I'm streaming, it's already in the channel, in the community tab. But hopefully we can meet again in the next streams. So thank you everyone who was here. Max, do find your connection to the art. I hope everybody does. I hope everybody finds a way to express it so that we are not stopped, like GIY was talking about, yeah? So that we don't, not everything has to come into a halt, but we can find a way to integrate art with our regular life, like the things we have to do to earn money, but at the same time, keep in contact with our heart in that way. So until next time, thank you very much. You could have been anywhere. You could be watching any YouTube channel, any YouTube video, but you are here. And I know that that makes this Sangat beautiful, and I enjoy, and it's an honor to be with you. So until next time, Sat Nam. Take care.